So the course, we call it as DevOps Deep Dive, right? Now, how many of you are not aware of what is DevOps? Anyone?
I'm not much aware about that.
Okay. Who was that? Sorry.
Krishna.
Krishna. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Good. Anyone else?
Hi, sir. Swapnacha here. I just have the basic idea around the DevOps.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, me too is not much aware of those. We usually do in our project, use a few tools, but not that much in depth.
Okay, good, sure. Anyone else?
So same here, Hindu they say.
Okay.
I mean, I'm having little bit idea about tools and technologies, but not much in that.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so those who already have an idea, can you help me explain DevOps for this team, those who don't know? So let us make it interactive. You can start telling me what is your understanding of DevOps, and then we'll put it in perspective.
Yeah. Hi, Ketan. Nitin here.
Yeah, Nitin.
So, yeah. So basically, I too don't have much knowledge about DevOps, but I have read some articles, and from that understanding, I came to know it's like a combination of development and operations. Whatever the development teams do, like in software development lifecycle, we do requirement gathering, then coding, then whatever the steps comes, then is testing, and then build stages there, then deployment is there, then maintenance is there. So these all steps are like divided in two parts, like development teams whose work is to like gather the information, create a documentation, and then develop the code, develop an application, and then build it. This is like development team. And the operation teams, these are the different teams which are involved in like building it and deploying, and then maintenance of the application at the client side, or whatever the end user, whatever is it a client or it is a company, whatever it is. So with these all all these requirement, we gather together, we build an application in such a way that we use tools, like there are different tools, Jenkins is there, which helps in like integrating all the tools, like for development, maybe Git is there, and then Ansible is there, and whatever the maintenance tool, for maintenance we use different tools.
Right.
I guess Jenkins, Git, Ansible, and what is that we use for like monitoring? We use I don't know that name. I'm stuck here. So all these tools, Nagios, yeah. So all these tools are used, and these everything forms a DevOps.
Correct. Okay, good. Thanks, Nitin.
Just a short
quite
introduction.
detailed. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I would like to add just one point to Nitin's point. So he has just missed, I guess, quality assurance part. So basically, the DevOps is nothing but the merging of development, quality assurance, and the operation into a single patch. That is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, Prasad this side.
Yeah, Prasad.
Just I wanted to add the main target of the DevOps to increase the pace of the releases. So many big companies like Facebook, Amazon, and all, they want a faster releases. So they have many different software and hardware builds. So once the development is done, the cost is auto-reviewed and tested by some tool. I don't have exact idea, but after that, the code is deployed on the production or staging side, you can say.
Okay.
And it is tested, and the product manager may get a mail regarding whatever the bugs or whether the code is good to go in the production or not.
Perfect.
That is my short understanding.
Very good. Very
And
nice.
the rest of the points are added by my other friends. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Prasad. Good. Yes. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, Ravinder here.
Ravinder.
Yeah, so my understanding so far is it automates your development and deployment of those developed applications using various tools which are available on cloud or in on data centers. It automates the system actually, and
Correct.
it speed up your deployment part.
Correct. Perfect. So these are linked. When you say increase the pace of your release, you have to have some sort of automation to achieve that. Okay. Good. Good. Anyone else?
Ketan Krishna here.
Yeah, Krishna.
So my understanding from DevOps is like it helps developers and QA to make their releases easy using the operations, and all the infrastructure management and other things are carried out by DevOps, so that developers and QA doesn't have any headache of thinking about the infrastructure and other things. So that's the reason why DevOps is there. Whatever I think from
Okay.
my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So that is what I said. The role will still remain, right? The devs will be there, QAs will be there, ops will be there, and in some companies, DevOps will also be there as a team. But many companies, DevOps is not there as a separate team. They are part of the team, and maybe in some companies, devs are taking care of some tools. In some companies, QAs are taking care of the same tool. So that might differ. But DevOps is not per se a role, right? DevOps is basically changing the mindset of people working as a team, right? Work in a collaborative way rather than thinking that this is not my job, this is your job, this is somebody else's job. So main thing, if you see, if I forget about automation for now, DevOps is basically term coined to change the mindset, saying that they should work in collaboration. What happens otherwise in the industry is devs and QAs are doing development and testing. Once they feel the software is good to go, they throw the software to ops and then they go home, right? Make a release. Our job is done. It is tested. It is ready to go. Throw the release to operations team. Go home. Operations team, it's a Friday evening. They are making the release and they found that there is some issue because application is not starting. So what they will do? They will call you. And you guys are enjoying party because it's a Friday evening. You are in a pub or somewhere and you are not picking up the call. These guys suffer. Okay. So what happens next time when you make a release? They will tell you, you stay back because last time there was a lot of problem. We don't believe you. So you wait till we make a release. And if dev tells that I want to make an immediate urgent release, ops will say sorry. It makes our production unstable, right? Because their uh, key success factors are different. So that is where there was a lot of conflict, right? Because they were thinking they are two separate teams. Merging this, they want them to work in collaboration so that we achieve a common goal, which is to deliver services to our end customer. That's the whole objective, right? So that is the one part of it, that is mindset. When you work in collaborative way, you will understand what are the challenges operations is going through, and ops will understand what are the challenges devs and QAs are going through, so that we have empathy toward each other rather than apathy, right? So we try to help each other, we try to understand each other's problems and help each other in a way, right? For example, Google, right? If you join Google as a developer, you are also given a pager. What it means? That you also have to be on call support like ops team is. So you understand the pain of somebody calling you at 2 a.m. in the morning, early morning, for some support issues. So devs are also aware of what they go through, so they also get pager. Ops also has a pager, but they also have a pager. Similarly, ops team are asked to script. they need to automate their task. Don't do everything manually, so that they also learn some development so that they can automate their own tasks. So this is all about working in collaboration. Of course, the end result we want to achieve is better customer satisfaction. That is where increase the pace of release helps without impacting the quality. Do you know what kind of frequency with which Amazon makes the releases? What is the frequency with which Amazon makes release? What is the release cycle in each one of your case? Anybody? You can tell what is your current release cycle in whatever project you are working.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks. Anybody? More than this or less than this?
Daily.
Daily. Very nice.
In my case, it is also daily on test environment.
On test environment daily. No, customer final release?
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Anyone else would like to share their release cycle?
Mine is around 3-4 months because it's a waterfall model.
Okay, so you're still with waterfall, right? So 3-4 months also is there. Correct.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Now, what is the expectation nowadays customer or competition has from us, right? So Amazon, for example, anybody has heard about Amazon's release frequency? Of course, it is across all their products, all their services, and that is thousands and thousands of services they deliver. Okay, but any idea, any guess on their frequency of releases?
I guess there might be like 100 releases over the night.
Over the night, 100 releases over the night. Anybody else?
I read somewhere like it does it around like half 15-16 second around after every 15-16
Yes.
second, something like
Yes.
I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, they say, I think at least 6 months back I had read somewhere it is 1.5 release per second. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not making any mistake. It's 1.5 release per second. So many releases they make every day, thousands of releases every day they do, and you will not find much problems with Amazon services, right? You will never find they are down or they are not working or there are errors or there are defects. So such a robust thing. Now, most of the companies who are making this kind of crazy frequency releases, they attribute this to DevOps implementation in their organization. The maturity at which they are into DevOps is very high. It is as good as a developer, suppose I'm making a change, a new feature in LinkedIn, for example. So I'm a LinkedIn employee. My manager told me that, Ketan, can you please add this feature to our LinkedIn? Okay. Now, of course, in the morning, I got the requirement with, all the combinations, assumptions, and risks. So I go through that. I discuss with QA in our whatever stand-up meeting as part of Agile part, and QA starts working on the test cases which might happen manually. So as soon as I code, I complete my things. QA tests in the build environment, right? Once QA confirms yes, things are working fine, regression suite got executed and it's working fine, I can push my code to the master branch, and within maybe 10 minutes, it is into production, right? So maybe by evening, the morning when I started with the feature, by evening, it is available to all of us as a LinkedIn end users to use that feature. So that is the kind of speed we are talking about, and more than that, right? So if you see, all the processes in between will get automated. Your regression testing will be automated, your infrastructure will be automated, your configuration will be automated. So that's basically, we are moving towards extreme automation. Extreme automation, right? Except the developers doing development, right? Rest of things are automated, because the code is not getting automated right now. Developers are writing the code. Of course, there are softwares now, low code products are coming where you don't have to do too much coding, but we have not reached that maturity there right now. But right now, developers are doing the coding. That is most manual part. Rest of the stuff becomes automated. That's what we are going to learn as part of this training. So it's like coverage is very huge in this training. When I decide to include or exclude something, it becomes very difficult to take that decision, right? So that is where I made some changes over the years so that the training becomes effective. At the same time, coverage is not compromised. Yeah. So this is what DevOps means. DevOps means development and operations working together. When I say dev and ops, dev includes QA, right? Many times QA gets offended why there is no QA word in this. So development, it is not for developer. Dev is not representing developer. Dev represents development, and development includes both developers and QAs, product owners, scrum masters, and everyone. So that's how it is. You have to look at it, right? And key advantage is increase in release frequency without impacting quality, or maybe more better quality. See, typically you increase the frequency, you have more unstable builds, but that's not the case. If you implement DevOps properly, then you are moving towards maturity where your frequency is increased and your quality of release is also very high. That's the objective. Any questions? Okay. So we have discussed what is DevOps, what is the demand of DevOps skills in the market. Many times you have a question whether is it worth me doing DevOps, whether it will help me in my role, and then we'll discuss the course coverage. Okay. So is it a job title? Is it about automation? It is about dev and ops collaboration. Is it about frequent releases? Is it about release readiness? So all of that is applicable for DevOps, right? Many companies are giving job openings as DevOps engineer or DevOps developer, right? Then you have SDET for QAs nowadays, if they are developers as well as, right? So basically delivering software quickly, reliably, that is a quality, and safely is at the heart of technology transformation and organizational performance, right? So for businesses, this is very important to stay competitive in the market. DevOps goes with this terms CAMS or CAMS, right? With L. So it is about culture, mindset. It's about automation. It's about lean. That is, do only things which are needed. Remove waste. Certain activities which are not adding any value, remove it from your processes. Measurement, measure, because if you want to improve continuously, you should know where you stand. And then sharing, collaboration. Right, so we will be going into much more depth into these concepts during next week when we start with our first session. Right, so development and operations we already discussed. Any question on this slide?
No, sir.
Okay. Right, so our training will be case study based training. So what we do is we introduce a fictitious bank. Suppose a bank is there who is struggling right now, the challenges it is facing. So we'll be discussing with that part. So you will get a context of why somebody should even think about DevOps as an organization, right? We'll talking about DevOps origin and everything, this cultural part, automation part, and all we discussed, and then our tools part. Okay, so this is how we'll be carrying out our training. So if you see here, entire life cycle of your application and operations management comes in here. You plan your releases, you do the coding. Once you complete the coding, you do build, that is your executables. You do the testing, then you make a release, right? That release may be at a different level, like it's for UAT, it's for staging, it may be for any other based on your organization. Then once you deploy, right? Once you deploy your release to the production, then you have to operate it and do continuous monitoring. This is where, so we are actually, as part of this training, are going to touch across all the layers, right? from here till here. That's the scope of our training, right? That is why it is a huge scope to cover in 3.5 months, right? So this is cut across all the things. So what we are going to do, we are going to learn how to automate build creation. We are not going to learn how to do coding, but we are going to learn how to create executables out of the code we have. How do you build it, right? We are not going to learn how to do automation testing, but we will learn how to execute those test cases as part of your continuous integration. Okay. How do you make a release? So we are going to automate the release, right? Automate the release to staging environment, UAT environment, or production environment. We will also learn how to create those environments on the fly on the cloud. That is, suppose I need 3 servers for my deployment. You will also learn how to write a code which that code will create your servers. See, typically what we do, infrastructure provisioning is there is one department where you tell I need 2 servers, right? Provision that server, and then nowadays people are asking for VMs. I need 2 VMs for my testing. Okay. Now in the cloud you can create 2 VMs, but we are not going to do create VMs via some UI. We are going to write a code. That code, when you execute, will create 2 servers automatically. Then you will be configuring those servers also in an automated way. And then once the work is done, you may want to destroy those servers even in automation way. So everything automated. You are not going to create anything manually. That's the level of detail we are going to go into while learning different tools. Any questions here? I'll just pause because I've said too many things. So I want to give you time to grasp and understand what we are getting into.
Hey, hi, Ketan. So you said that we are not doing the coding and automation part. So is it that we are not dealing with the coding over here?
Yeah, so in DevOps training, I'm not going to cover any particular technology like Java or C# or anything on how to do development, right? We are definitely going to learn. So from development perspective, we are going to learn couple of things, like we will be learning how to use Maven. There are some code quality check tools like SonarQube, and we'll understand code coverage by using Cobertura. So these are the 3 things you will be learning from development perspective, but we are not going to learn actually how to do coding. I'm not going to cover any language as such as part of this training. That's what I meant.
So can we say it is easy than doing the development and automation?
Is it easy?
Easy than doing the automation or the development part?
It may not be that way. That is a totally different activity, we can say, right? The way we look at it is, see, these are the activities which we are talking about. It's going to be used by developers or testers or operations team, right? But it is beyond doing the work. Like suppose here we are going to write automated test cases, right? But we are not going to learn how to use Selenium or any other UFT or Tosca or any other tools. So we are not getting into the role of that individual per se. But in addition to what developers are doing or testers are doing, what they can do to help in DevOps, to implement DevOps in the organization. That is where our focus is going to be. Okay. So that's where it is. Like here, I'm not going to tell you how to do Oracle database administration. No, that's not our scope. We'll just make sure how for making a release, end-to-end release and maximum part automated, what all things you can learn, which will help you to achieve that. That's the objective of this training.
Ketan,
Yeah.
so your explanation, Naveen here. With
Yeah,
your
Naveen.
explanation, what I understand is, see, if we do the same DevOps steps which you explain, like plan, code, build,
Yeah.
without automation, it is not called DevOps. With automation, it is called DevOps.
No. So DevOps is, as I told you, it's a culture and mindset. Okay. So if you are working as a team together, where you are involving operations team in your planning, you are taking inputs from operations team about what all care you need to take as part of your development and testing, so that whenever it reaches operations team, that is also DevOps in a way, because you are working as a collaboration. It's a mindset. If your mindset are of collaboration and you are working together, it is still a DevOps. But then you will not be able to achieve the kind of frequency one needs to be competitive, right? For example, I have a company who releases product every year, okay, and they don't feel the need to release it every day because they are unique in the market. They have monopoly. There is no competition to them. They are okay to deliver only every annually. They need not automate anything because they are comfortable with this, with their own pace. But they are still, the team is working in collaboration, making sure everybody is understands each other's role and take care of those aspects. Correct? You're getting my point?
Yeah, that's right. So automation is just an add-on for DevOps, but it's not a must for DevOps.
Yes, it is not a must for DevOps in that sense. It's a need base, right? If I don't have a need for automation, why should I invest on the license tools and do something which I don't need so fast?
Agree. Okay, yeah, I get it.
Thanks.
So one question.
Yes.
So what we will build then? What code we will build if we are not doing?
Yeah, so we will be taking an existing application code, okay, and that we are going to build. So during the entire course, we might take one .NET application, one JavaScript Node.js application, one Java application. So we are not going to write that code, but we are going to take the ready-made applications for us to implement this end-to-end thing.
Okay.
Right? That's how we are going to do. If some of you are developers and you have created a microservice or you have created an application, you can use that application to do end-to-end cycle. Some of you are already working in an environment where your application is containerized and you want to implement all these things, you can start implementing in your current organization. Typically, I've seen smaller companies, people working in smaller companies, they have an open culture where they can implement extra things and help organization improve faster. So those people in my batches also take up their own company's tasks, and whatever they learn here, they try to implement in their organizations. That's another option you have. Your existing application, you can start looking at from this perspective and start improving and move towards automation.
Hi, Ketan. This is Shraddha.
Yeah, Shraddha.
Yeah, just a quick question. So the applications you are using from the Java Node.js, sorry for the disturbance.
No problem.
So our applications are on Python. So is there any chance you can do this with the Python application or Python?
That is also fine. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Right? So we can
Another
do that.
question. Yeah, that's fine. Another question is like currently I'm working in Sky, where I do the mostly stress testing, manual stress testing. I was in automation for some time, but now again I am on manual stress testing. So is it this course is good who is doing manual testing as well, or it's like the person who is doing automation is good for them doing this course?
Okay,
Yeah.
so as I told you, right, that we are not going to learn automation testing as part of this course, right?
Okay.
Rather, we are going to learn development. The basic criteria for individual is to at least you should know how software development process works. That is a base,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Now, typically for QA, if they are looking for only job change, right? Then I recommend automation is easier for you to help you change your job than DevOps.
Okay.
Faster, and the speed of change will be easier here because you are learning here one or two tools, maximum one language, Java or Python, and then Selenium or maybe another tool like Tosca, and you can start applying here. In DevOps, that's not so going to be easy, right? All of you, because you are joining here, I should not give you a rosy picture and all, but when you learn DevOps, you are talking about learning around 8 to 9 tools in next 3.5 months, right? Then actually once you complete the training, then you should start planning which tools you want to focus as an individual based on your current role, right? And
Okay.
start preparing for that. Maybe you can target 1 or 2 certifications, right?
Yeah.
Parallelly, you will also need to learn one cloud technology, either AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, right? So this is
Okay.
also one of the area which you'll have to pick up. So it's, but the advantage will be that you will be early picker of the DevOps, because a lot of people are not aware of what is DevOps in the
Yeah.
industry, right? So that is where I am seeing the people who have done the courses in DevOps in past 2 years, they have an early moving advantage to these technologies. Many of
Okay.
them have shifted within their current organization because they knew certain tools and they were in demand, right? So your opportunities will increase with this course. But if you are thinking about an immediate switch, right, then your automation skills you need to focus more
Okay.
as a QA.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can go away.
Yeah, Gaurav.
So about this course, as I'm working as an automation engineer, so
Right.
in automation we use different tools here. So I was planning to move to DevOps or some of the cloud.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this course will give a brief introduction about DevOps and deep diving about tools. So
Right.
if about after this course, so just wanted to know a knowledge means like how there are different between clouds. Actually, you told that DevOps plus you need to have some knowledge of AWS, Azure, and other clouds. So after this course, how knowledge will be like? Let's say I completed this course and even I want to learn the cloud as well as cloud
Correct.
technology, because
Correct.
as in my project also they are moving to Azure cloud.
Okay.
So how much knowledge means like there's a difference between DevOps or cloud means like how much extra effort they need to put up after this course to learn
Right.
cloud.
Okay. So what I typically suggest is, while we are starting with the training, right? Suppose we are starting from here. Today we are here and we want to reach somewhere here after 3.5 months.
Okay.
Okay. And suppose in your organization you are going to use Azure. Then I would suggest you start reading about Azure from today. Maybe in a very low speed. Maybe you can decide 1 hour every week to study Azure. Okay. And there are in Azure, AWS and Google Cloud, they have very good guideline on how do you start with a cloud, Azure cloud, or how do you start with AWS cloud. So you start reading those fundamental course related content, and then you understand all the services. Okay. And then you understand how they are implemented or DevOps related part into that services. So by the time you complete this course, you are also comfortable with one cloud technology, so that you can get into DevOps kind of a role faster.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
If your organization you are occupied too much and you don't have enough time to carry out two things simultaneously, then after doing this, right, you can narrow down your tool set to 2 to 3 tools, out of which whatever you have learned, and then start learning the cloud. That is another option you have.
Okay.
Right. So in this case, there will be a longer cycle in terms of after the training also, you have to spend some time to get comfortable and get into DevOps. Yeah, somebody else was asking something.
No, sir. Actually, I wanted to elaborate more. Okay.
Yes, Murtaza, please.
Yeah. So in Azure, suppose you want to switch to Azure. So whatever sir is doing in, let's say, the AWS, so you can mimic on Azure and implement those tools in Azure. So at the parallel, you can have a knowledge of Azure services as well as DevOps services as well.
Correct, correct. So what Murtaza is saying, no, Gaurav, that whatever we are going to learn, we are not going to learn our local machine. We are going to learn on AWS. So you will get a glimpse of what is AWS and how to use AWS, but that won't be sufficient for you to clear the interviews and do the job. So what Murtaza is saying, if we are doing everything on AWS, you can start doing it on Azure instead of AWS.
Okay.
So that you also start with Azure, at least with whatever we are doing here. So this is for all of you in the call. If your company is using Google Cloud, you go ahead and do it in Google Cloud. It might happen that I have to spend some more time with you to get comfortable with Google Cloud, because I am comfortable with AWS and Azure. I'm not yet comfortable with Google, but I don't mind spending time with you and at least creating whatever we need for our course in your particular cloud, right? But point is, one cloud technology you have to master by the time you start applying for DevOps related roles.
Yeah, even I also search a particular role for DevOps in just I was scrolling. So I got to know that nowadays DevOps plus cloud knowledge is they're requiring. So that's what
Yes.
I was.
Yes, yes, that is needed. Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm asking like which cloud technology will be like beneficial to learn? Like there are so many now, Google, AWS, and Azure. So which is more in demand? I
See,
mean,
what I
which
have
one?
seen now, Hinduja, mainly I have seen AWS and Azure more compared to Google Cloud yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyone, I think Azure or AWS, if you want to pick up, that is good. Try to pick up the one which is there with your current organization, so that if you have an opportunity to shift internally, it becomes easier for you.
Okay.
Between these two, it should be fine, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, any other question? I think another question you had, Induja, along with it.
No, sir.
Okay, somebody else was trying to ask, Chetan?
Yes, hi Ketan.
Right.
So my query is, do you have the syllabus or points which needs to be learned as from cloud perspective? Let it be AWS or Azure.
Yes, yes, I'll be able to guide you as we start.
Yeah, because
Right.
if we just start referring the internet stuff, then
I understand.
it might
That's
take more
huge.
time.
No, that I can guide. I can give you a proper guideline on how you can start and what you can do next and all.
Yeah, that will be fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Chetan.
Yeah, Ketan, Naveen here again.
Yeah, Naveen, tell me.
This is just from an experience point of view. I work currently with Azure Cloud. Previously, I worked with AWS.
Okay.
From a developer point of view or from a platform engineer point of view,
yes.
From the DevOps, any person will be part of only only a part of it. Will not be having need to work end to end.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So for anyone who is learning, they already might be working in DevOps, but they don't know that they're working in DevOps.
Correct. I agree with you, Naveen. Perfect.
So that's something probably this course will surely help them, is what I feel, because the way you explained at the previous one,
yes,
I felt it surely will work. But from the tools point of view, again, it's left to their own choice.
Correct. I agree. I agree. So what I think Naveen is trying to say is, it is not that you should be master of everything what we are going to learn as part of this training. Okay, that is one point. And second point is, you are already involved somewhere in DevOps cycle, which you are not feeling that it is DevOps because you are not seeing the tools there. Right? So it is from that perspective. Okay, but if you see the most of the job openings and all, they are more tool focus oriented. Right, so they will tell you whether you should at least have a knowledge of Azure / Google Cloud / AWS. You should know Ansible / Puppet / SaltStack / Chef. Right, so they will list down all the tools, and you should have at least one tool tick marked in each category. Right, so if you read a JD for DevOps, then you will get scared. Right, you will say, Ketan, you are not teaching all the tools. Right, because there are hundreds of them. I cannot. Right, but one thing we'll be getting out of this course is we'll be learning one tool for every stage along with the fundamental of that stage. Right, so for example, we are going to learn Ansible, which is for configuration management. Right, so we'll be learning what is configuration management, what are things involved in configuration management, and how you do it in Ansible. Then suppose after learning this training, you join a company and there they are using Chef. So what is changing there? Instead of Ansible, you are going to use Chef, but the fundamental of configuration management still remains. What Ansible is doing, same thing Chef is doing. Maybe you have to learn the language, so to say. Language in the sense how Chef works, what is the UI of Chef, or what are the commands of Chef, or how is the configuration of Chef, right? So all that you have to learn. Otherwise, the fundamental will remain same. So it will be easier transition for you to learn any other tool in the same area. Okay, so suppose you learn Jenkins here with me, and in your company you are using GitLab or you are using GitOps. right? Or you are using Circle CI. Fundamental, you are going to learn. Jenkins you have learned. Maybe the way you do things in GitLab is different. So you have to learn GitLab as a tool. So that is what is going to make the difference. But you will get a very good idea about every stage of your software development, right? You will be able to talk the language of technical language when you are doing a scrum meetings or daily stand-up meetings, and you will be able to talk about it. Even when your operations team is discussing, you will be able to talk about this. Okay, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Oh, okay. So that kind of confidence also you will have once you have these things across.
So, Ketan, is there any scripting language knowledge required, like YAML or something like that?
Yes. So
automation.
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So everything I'm going to teach you. So one thing about scripting we are going to learn is bash scripting, shell scripting, right? So that is part of the scope which we are going to learn, and all the YAML syntax, how to write YAML files and all, we are going to learn from scratch. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And one last, Chetan, is it we have these are open source?
Everything what we are having is open source, and there are some commercial tools, but we are using only open source part of it. For example, Ansible, there is Ansible Tower, which is a commercial enterprise version, which is at cost, but we are using open source version, which is free.
Okay.
Right. So nowhere you need to spend on licenses. Only area you have to spend money apart from my course fees is when we learn Kubernetes, you need little heavy servers, heavy virtual machines, and that might cost you around 400 rupees a month for 1 month. So that's not much as such, but that is the only area where we might need to spend apart from the training fees. Okay. Otherwise, we are going to create a free account, free tier account of AWS, where whatever we are going to learn, it will not cost you anything. Not a single penny. Apart from this 400-500 rupees, which you will have to shell out when we learn Kubernetes.
Yeah, hi Ketan, Ravindra here.
Hi Ravindra.
Are you going to cover CI/CD concepts also here?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
I think this is the time to go to the next slide. It seems we need to learn the tools, right? What all things we are going to cover. Right now, this course is in 2 formats. Right? One is a live class, like we are doing now, right? So some part of the training will happen as a live class, and some part of the training will happen with recorded sessions. Okay. This is how it is divided. Okay. Now what will happen through live class and what will happen through recorded session and what will happen offline? So there is one more mode where you'll be doing some activities offline. So offline mainly you will be doing is setup of tools. So I'll be giving you instructions as a Word document, or I'll be giving you videos which will help you to do the setup of these tools, whatever tools we are going to learn. So that becomes offline. Your assignments, every tool you will be getting assignments that you have to do at home. Some of the hands-on we'll be doing live class, right? For every tool we are going to learn, we will be doing hands-on during the live class also, and you will get assignments at home also. And why I've converted some things into recorded session, because I want to increase the hands-on during the live class. That's the objective with which this course is designed. And which sessions are put into recorded sessions, which are specific to a particular role. For example, in this slide, if you see, on this slide, we are going to do this in a live session, Git and GitHub, Linux in a live session, Jenkins in a live session, right? CI/CD, right? So these are the 3 tools which we are going to learn as part of this training. They will be part of the live sessions. SonarQube, Maven, and Kobayashi. So there will be recording through which you will be learning this, because this is not applicable to all of us. And this, if you are interested, you can go through recording. So this recording will contain everything. How do you set up the tools? How do you use their features? How do you integrate with CI/CD? Everything. So this is pre-recorded sessions you'll get. These are going to be the live sessions. Everything we are going to do on AWS. Right? So you'll be creating account on AWS. You'll be creating virtual machines on AWS. Those virtual machines on which you'll be installing Jenkins. You'll be having Linux boxes, basically virtual machines. We are going to use Linux, CentOS 7. Having said that, if any of you are comfortable with other distributions of OS, feel free to use that. So there is no restriction. But just to be consistent with the class, I would prefer all of you use CentOS. So Linux will be learning from scratch, Git, GitHub from scratch, and Jenkins from scratch. So no prior knowledge is needed. That is what my assumption is. Everybody is fresh. They don't have any knowledge about these tools, right? And now some of you might be comfortable with Linux. Then those sessions might be a little boring for you in case you are very comfortable with those tools. Right? So in those people typically end up helping me during the class, right? So they might want to share their own experience on learning while they use Linux and all. So that's how it goes, right? So this is these are the tools, and these are the tools mainly you should focus developers and testers related tools, I can say. Eventually, when you come out of this training, and if you want to get mastery, I think Jenkins is a tool you need to have. And of course, next slide I'll be covering more tools. So Docker is also a very important tool for devs and QAs, right?
Yeah, I get one question here.
Yeah, please.
So for recorded session, let's say we have some doubts. So how going to clear that? If
we can do it in the live class.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you suppose you have gone through the recording, and if you have doubts, then we can have one session to clear doubts for Maven, SonarQuery, and Cobertura, and similarly for other recorded sessions.
Okay, so it will be in continuous way, or there will be a separate means like
we can decide that. See, basically what I would prefer is, if you as a team, participants as a team, decide that you will be going through recording within a particular 2 weeks at time, because it's around 6-7 hours recording, right? Then we can decide that maybe after this 2 weeks time, initial 1 hour of our session will spend on this query resolution. Okay, so that we can cover definitely. So even though it's a pre-recorded session, it doesn't mean that you will not get any support for resolving your queries. Only challenge there is, Gaurav, like team operations team, right? They are not aware of development.
Okay.
So for them, it becomes very difficult to go through these tools, and they may not need in future. So for those people, I don't want to mandate learning these tools.
Okay.
But having said that, query resolutions definitely we can have. If required, we can have a separate session for those who are interested in these tools.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks. Any other question on this slide? Okay, let me cover other tools, and then we'll take questions regarding the tools. So the sequence in which we are going to learn, let me also tell you so that you are aware of it. We will start with Git and GitHub. That is our starting point. And this we will be doing in our local machine. We may not do immediately on AWS. Of course, then we are going to use Git on AWS for throughout the sessions, because everywhere we'll be having the repositories. So this is how we start with first session of tools. Of course, next week we are not going to start with Git, GitHub. Next week we are going to talk about DevOps only as a concept, as a technology, as a idea, as a mindset, everything. And then we are going to talk about a case study of bank. That is a plan for next week. Then once we finish Git, GitHub, we are going to start with Linux from scratch again, right? And this also includes shell scripting or bash scripting, whatever you call. Once we finish Linux, we are going to jump to Jenkins. Now, before we jump to Jenkins and before we start Linux, I'll be sharing the recording with you so that you have enough time to cover them up before we start Jenkins. Right? So before we start Jenkins, it is better you go through all these recordings so that makes sense for you what we do in Jenkins. right? So that's how the sequence is going to be: Git, GitHub, Linux, Jenkins, and in parallel, you can cover all these recordings. Once we finish Jenkins, we'll be learning Docker, right? Again, very important technology nowadays. Okay. How many of you are aware of the concept of Docker? Sorry?
Krishna, I'm aware about some concept about Docker.
Okay, you are aware of what's happening. Anybody else about Docker?
No, sir. Only
No.
heard about it. Yeah.
Just if I tell you briefly what Docker is, right? It's a containerization technology. Okay,
Yeah.
containerization technology. So what it means is, suppose I want to deploy 10 instances of my application, right? 10 instances of my application, right? Now, traditionally we use virtual machines. One virtual machine for one instance, or maybe two instances in one virtual machines, maybe if it is your application is that way deployable, right? So you have 10 VMs. Now to start a 10 VMs, then do the setup and install everything, configure everything, it takes a lot of time, right? If you are using Docker, these 10 instances can be deployed in less than 2 seconds, right? Docker are nothing but containers with lightweight virtual machines, you can say. So very, very, very powerful technology. It has changed the way you build, test, and deploy all, right? It's very magical. Okay, yeah.
So one question for Docker and Kubernetes, we will also use the Java, .NET, and Angular as you mentioned earlier.
Yes, we'll be using some of those technologies to deploy our deployments.
Okay.
Right, so Docker is a containerization technology, very powerful, where you can containerize your application. So we will learn how do we containerize our application so that you can deploy them faster. You can, it's like, many times if you see, QA does testing, correct? Finds the defects. Defects goes to developers. Okay, what developer says, मेरे में तो चल रहा है, it's working fine on my machine, or it is working fine on our environment. What QA says, not working on my environment. So what it means is, application code is same, but their environments are different. The configuration is different. With Docker, you can resolve this, because with Docker, if you are using a containerization technology here, the environment remains same because your container is same. So there is no way there is a discrepancy between two environments if you are using containerization technology. Same thing, conflict between dev and ops, right? Dev says it was working fine, we have very much tested, why you are saying in operations it is not working? Now this conflict also is almost zero if you use Docker containerization, right? That's where it helps you to bring in consistency in your deployment environments and your deployments itself. So there is no way there can be any minor difference between the two environments if you are using Docker. So that's where Docker is very important technology to learn. Okay, once we finish Docker, we are going to learn Kubernetes. Okay, now each of these tools are very huge, so I have given the scope on which what all things we are going to learn in Docker, what all things we are going to learn in Kubernetes, what all things we are going to learn in Terraform and Ansible. Of course, apart from Docker and Kubernetes, most of the tools we are going to do a lot of stuff in depth, right? Kubernetes is very vast, so what I have done here also is divided in two parts. One is where we are going to do on the live class. Another is I'm going to give you the documentation to do self-study, because otherwise Kubernetes itself might take 2 to 3 months to learn as a tool, right? So that's where again here there will be separate between live class and self-study part. Docker. So what is Kubernetes, by the way, for folks who are new to this? Kubernetes is container orchestration tool. That is, I have suppose thousands of instances running in my environment. So these are containers, right? Now, what if this one container got down, dropped down, or died? How do I come to know? And now I want another instance because this is not available. Okay. Now, how do I check whether everything is running fine or not? How do I access my each application? So all this orchestration of your containers is where Kubernetes comes into play. Using Kubernetes, you can manage your deployment very well. Right. So again, very powerful, very powerful tool in the industry right now. These two combination is the thing right now. Any containerized application will not be surviving without using these two. Of course, there are alternate ways of doing orchestration and there are proprietary technologies available, but these are most widely used. You see any JDs on DevOps, mostly you will find Kubernetes and Docker, right? So again, very powerful to learn, right? Then once we learn Kubernetes, parallelly, I'll be giving you recording of Nagios, which is monitoring, right? So this you will get a recording. Again, this is a reverse part now. Monitoring is important for operations team, right? But not so much for devs and QS. So that is where I have put it as a recording so that not everybody has to go through in the classroom. So you will have a recording, documentation, setup instructions, everything as part of Nagios, but that's a pre-recorded session. Rest of these tools which I'm talking, they are all classroom. So if you see classroom coverage is very high, it is not that, maximum is recorded. Recorded is only on SonarQube, Coberture and Maven, around 6-7 hours of recording and around 6 hours of recording for Nagios, 5-6 hours of recording for Nagios. Rest of this we are going to do as part of our training. So once we finish Kubernetes, have you heard about Terraform? Anyone? No one has heard about Terraform?
No. Yeah, one similar thing of Terraform ARM template we use in Azure.
Yes.
Provisioning script.
Provisioning script, right? So Terraform is your data center creator using code. Infrastructure as a code, IAC we call. If you Google on IAC word, right? Infrastructure as a code. That is using Terraform, I can say, Terraform, can you please create 2 virtual machines for me? Can you create a private network for me? Can you create a database server for me? Right? Likewise, I can create my entire data center using Terraform by writing a code. By writing a code, this is the if you see when I was going through DevOps in maybe 4-5 years back, this was the tool. This is the kind of tools I was very impressed with. It was like almost magical to see how these things are working. So what I'm saying is, using Terraform, you're going to create your servers on the cloud, right? You are going to create networks on the cloud. You are going to integrate your application and database together on the cloud. You are going to create your database servers. You are going to create your load balancers. A lot of stuff you can create using Terraform, right? So that's a magical tool I like the most. Out of these tools, if you ask me, I like this tool the most. It's most easier to learn, but it's the magic which I like, the way it creates the infrastructure on the cloud. So Terraform is called an infrastructure provider. It provides you with the infrastructure, right? But once you create your servers, right, virtual machines I created a database. Now, how do I configure? Suppose my virtual machines need some softwares to be installed. My virtual VPC has to be configured. My database also has to be configured. How do I do that configuration? Installing software, configuring software, right? I want to install my web servers on my virtual machines. How do I do that? All that is called configuration management, and that is where we learn Ansible. So Terraform creates infrastructure and Ansible will configure that infrastructure for you. So that is another tool which we are going to learn, right? And parallelly, you have to go through your Nagios recording, right? So these are the tools we are going to cover as part of this training. It's a very vast scope to cover in one training, and that is where your effort will be required throughout 3.5 months or more if it takes, so that you are comfortable with the technology. And parallelly, as I told you, if you can learn one cloud where we can decide the topics which you need to learn in that next 3.5 months, we can create a syllabus for AWS or Azure, and you all can target parallelly to finish that, so that by the time training ends, you are better positioned to appear for interviews or switch within your organization into a DevOps kind of a role. Okay, so before I go to the next slide, I wanted to ask if you have any questions related to this. Of course, once we finish this training, right? Once you finish Ansible, we'll be doing 2 end-to-end case studies, which will integrate whatever we have learned throughout 3.5 months. Right? So these 2 end-to-end case studies is what we will be doing at the end, so that we can recap whatever we have learned in 3.5 months, and we also understand how they can be used in conjunction together with each other. That's where our training actually ends.
Hi, Ketan.
Hi.
Regarding Docker, are we going to learn platform specific like Linux or Windows only, or both?
So we are going to do everything on Linux. Okay. But if you have some examples of Windows, we don't mind it trying it out. Right. So many times students comes with their own requirement. We can include that. But for now, whatever we do is only on Linux. We don't use Windows machines.
Okay, so my query is in industry. So which platform is being used? Is it Linux only?
No. Both are used. Windows are also used. Yeah, Windows are also used, and Linux are also used. Mainly those customers who are Microsoft shops, they prefer using Windows and Azure, right? Otherwise, Linux is the most widely used platform.
Okay.
Another challenge with Windows is with Docker, it requires a professional version of Windows operating system for you to work with Windows containers. For older version of Windows, you have an option. There is a Docker toolkit which you need to install, but that's not so powerful compared to if you have a Windows professional with you, where you can create containers.
So to learn Docker, do we need to have a Linux operating system?
Yes.
Or no? Okay.
Yes. With my training, yes. Otherwise, not. Right? If you are using Docker on Windows, you need not know Linux. That's fine. And you are using
Can I
only
answer?
Windows container. Yes, Murtaza, you can also answer.
Yeah. So suppose you want to run a Windows container on Windows. So Microsoft is planning to do WSL, Windows subsystem of Linux. So Ubuntu canonical Ubuntu will be installed in WSL. So it will be available, I think, in a June or July Windows update. If you are genuine Windows operating system, so you can update that, and you can use the WSL, and there you can use the Docker. So you are using Linux in your Windows and Docker in your Linux, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, Murtaza is my ex-student of DevOps. Right? He's already working in DevOps. He has created his expertise on Azure side, and he's going to join this batch to recap. Because as a policy in our company, those who have joined our DevOps batch, they can rejoin the DevOps batch in future for recap without any extra cost. Right? This is for all the trainings we conduct in this. So that is where Murtaza is going to join this batch for recap. And he's already, I think, he's joining Infosys, right? When, Murtaza?
Tomorrow is my joining, sir.
Tomorrow is joining. All the best.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, one question, Ketan.
Sure.
So for
Sure,
Murtaza
sure.
as well. So as I'm planning for Azure. Hello, someone.
Yeah, continue. Go on.
Okay, so yeah, even question from Murtaza as well. So currently I know Infosys for my particular project. So we are migrating our project to Azure, and even I want we need to do certification in Azure, and even I also want to move in Azure. So what are the means like challenges? Like, as you said, like in DevOps, currently we're using Linux machine for particular Azure, so we don't use Linux machine as such.
I don't think so for Azure. Right now, I am also going through Azure. I'm using Linux machines only. So it is nothing like that. Azure hai to you cannot use Linux, right?
Now Azure uses more Linux virtual machine than Windows. 70% are VMs are Linux only.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And even I can he can get some guidance for Azure from Murtaza, I guess.
Yes, yes. Murtaza has recently cleared 2 certifications and he is now Microsoft certified trainer also.
Thanks. Okay,
Yeah.
we can get some guidance.
Yes, yes,
Thanks.
definitely.
Sure, sure.
In fact, all my groups of DevOps, Murtaza is quite active in sharing the knowledge and sharing things. So what happens is this batch will be creating a group for this group, one WhatsApp group for this batch. And once the training gets over, all of you will be moved to a common group for DevOps team. So all the people who have done DevOps training in past, you will be merged with that group so that you keep in touch with us as a company, as well as you keep in touch with your colleagues and you keep on getting the latest in DevOps.
Okay, and one more thing. Right after trading, if we face some issue or we have some issue in like when we switch and we come across some hurdle, so if we get some support from you or in a group.
Yes, yes, we do. You can approach us, but only thing is, don't try to get job support kind of a thing where you keep on calling daily. That becomes very difficult for us to do. But once in a while, if you have queries, definitely we can. I can help all of you.
Okay.
Right, and that group which we are talking about, WhatsApp group, a lot of people will respond to your queries once you put it.
Yeah, sure.
So that is also another platform we have, and we also post a lot of job openings on those groups related to DevOps. So it's all related things. You will not get bombarded by other job openings of development and testing and all as far as possible, unless a lot of you are QA roles. So that is where some of the QA related also we post there.
Thanks, Ketan.
Thanks.
And for QA, we have a new opening like test ops. So the person who have experience on manual automation as well as integrating their test cases to the CI/CD pipeline. So those folks are called test ops. So I first you can move to the test op and then eventually into complete DevOps.
Correct, correct. So basically with DevOps, there are a lot of terminology which is coined, right? Some people call DevSecOps for security also included there. Some people say Dev Test Ops. Some terminology like No Ops. Then we say GitOps. It's a lot of terminology. AI Ops, artificial intelligent ops, right? So a lot of stuff is there. Once you get comfortable with DevOps as through this training, you will be able to understand a lot of other stuff as you read articles and things. Okay. Any other questions?
Ketan, one question.
Yeah.
So just now you told regarding the Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform.
Yeah.
So are these tools strictly applicable to the cloud technologies? And suppose if you want to apply this DevOps concept to non-cloud platforms or non-containerized based platforms, so what are the tools used there and how can we apply there?
Yeah, so non-containerized, if you say, then Docker and Kubernetes are out of the window. Okay, but you can definitely use Ansible for configuring your machines, right? So Ansible will be still applicable if your application is non-containerized, right? If you are using cloud, Terraform is definitely applicable because Terraform will help you to create your infrastructure on the cloud, right? But Docker and Kubernetes, if you are non-containerized applications, then Docker and Kubernetes will not be of help. But if you ask me, in future, most of the things will be containerized. Services, your apps, your databases, everything will be containerized. So even if you don't have now, definitely in future you will need to know this. You have heard about microservices, right? Microservices will definitely get containerized. anywhere you work, right? So that is where these two, Docker and Kubernetes, will be a good combination for anyone to have.
Okay, so it's better to have a knowledge of cloud.
Yes.
If you want to apply these tools, yeah, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Kiran.
Thanks, Prasad. Anyone? Questions? Those who have not asked any questions so far, would you like to ask?
So one question. Yeah,
yes.
the operating system that you are asking is about on Linux. It will be working. So that will be only on cloud, no? Or it will be on our physical machine.
You can also have Linux on your physical machine and learn all this. That will be fine. Not a problem.
Yeah, but if I don't have, then do I need to install Linux or?
Yes. So basically, you can have a virtual box where in your Windows system also you can have your Linux box created. So that is also possible. But my recommendation would be to learn through cloud so that you get comfortable with cloud technology in next 3.5 months. At least how to use their console, how to create servers, how to create databases, how to create network. All that at least you should be minimum be comfortable with.
Yes, so I need not to have like on my physical
Yes.
machine.
Yes. Yes. Need not have a physical machine, anything on physical machine as such, right?
Okay.
Need not.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And Ketan, to use a cloud services, is it chargeable? Is it a paid service or?
So all the cloud providers, typically AWS gives you a 12-month free tier, right? So most of the things we will learn during this 3.5 months will be free in that free tier. Except when we learn Kubernetes, we are going to create one server which will be chargeable, and that charge will come around 300 to 400 rupees for that particular month.
Okay.
Otherwise, nothing is chargeable. If you are using Azure, Azure has a different scheme, right? But I'm not sure they will give you, I think there is some 3 months you get credit for $200, and then you have to upgrade your account, and then some of the things are free and some of the things are chargeable. That is how Azure does it. And Google Cloud, frankly, I've never seen much. I have my account there, but I have not done much hands-on with Google Cloud, so I don't have any clue about Google Cloud. But everybody will be giving some freebies at all, at least, because they have to be competitive in the market. Any other questions?
Hi, sir. Simran here.
Yeah, Simran.
Sir, I just have a question. Like, any hardware specification do we have for deployment of these applications?
Hardware specification. For us, Simran, it's going to be a virtual machine Linux box on cloud.
Okay.
Your laptop may have only 2 GB RAM and maybe 500 MB of space available. That's good enough, because we are not going to do anything on our laptop except our first training on Git and GitHub.
Okay.
Rest of it, everything is going to be on cloud.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Okay, good. So shall we go to the next slide? Okay, so this is some of the terminology, right, which we are going to anyway learn as part of our training. We'll talk about self-service platforms, right? If I give you one example of self-service platform, is nowadays, if you forget your password in your company, or you want to change your password, earlier we used to call a support guy and he used to tell us, give us a link, and then we click on that link and things will happen. Now self-service means you know where to go and reset your password, and you are done. So that is what is what we call self-service. I need a virtual machine. I don't have to ask anybody. I know somewhere website in my intranet where I can go to that link, I click on a button, it will ask me what configuration of virtual machine I need. I click OK, and virtual machine link is available to me, right? That is called self-service. So a lot of things in DevOps, we focus on self-service rather than relying on each other for manual intervention, right? Automated infrastructure, that is where Terraform comes. My infrastructure is also automated. I will create servers on the fly. I will destroy them on the fly based on the need. Automated configuration management, that is where we talk about Ansible. So it will do, right? Like for example, in earlier world, like maybe around 10 years back, if I want to configure my servers, suppose I have 10 servers got new in the company, one administrator or maybe multiple admins have to configure those servers over a period of 2 or 3 weeks, right? They have to go on each machine, log in, install software, configure software and everything. With Ansible, from one machine, you can do configuration on hundreds of machines simultaneously in parallel, right? So you don't require administrators to go on every machine and do that. Ansible will do it remotely on each of these machines. So that is where we call this automated configuration management. CI/CD. CD. There are two CDs. Do you know what these two CDs are? One is called continuous deployment. One is called continuous delivery. What is the difference? So that all things we'll talk about when we talk about DevOps in next week's sessions, right? CD, CD. These both are CDs, but one is continuous delivery, another is continuous deployment. And there is a subtle difference between these two terminology, right? So we'll talk about those also as part of our training. Cloud adoption, right? Every company is going for cloud adoption. That is where architects are needed to migrate their data centers which are on premise to bring the data centers entire into the cloud. When we talk about DevOps, we are talking about end-to-end automation. We are talking about extreme automation, right? And we are also talking about change management. Yeah, so this is just a glimpse of terminology in terms of DevOps, right? There are a lot more, right? So we'll be doing case studies, which we spoke about as part of this training, which will be our final project before we start applying the job or start getting into the DevOps projects within your organization. And I insist for each of my training, I insist that don't attend such trainings with a casual mindset, right? When I say casual mindset means you are not sure whether you will be able to do it or not, or you are not sure whether this organization is the right to join as a training or not, or maybe you are joining just for the sake of it. Abhi, everybody is saying you should upskill and I have to upskill, so let me just give it a shot. So don't go with that mindset. When you join this training, have some target in place, have a uh, very strong context set that if I do this training, then after 3.5 months I will get into DevOps job within 2 months of my effort after the training, right? Or maybe while training is going on, I will get mastery on AWS, and by the end of 3.5 months I should be in a good position to apply for DevOps related jobs. So have some concrete measurable target set for you. If you join this training, don't come with a casual mindset. Don't join this batch if you are sure that you are not going to get any time because you are very much loaded in your office work, where you have to end up working on weekends. Weekdays also we are working 12-14 hours and you are going to miss a lot of sessions. Then wait, don't join this batch, right? Because then it will not be useful for you. So join this batch with a commitment to yourself that you will achieve the objectives which you want to achieve at the end of the day, right? So have that target set before you join this. And I'll be giving you a lot of recommendation on reading books. Like these are the books which I have read and I recommend all of you to read, right? If you are very much interested in novel like things, you are reading a lot of novels, then these two books will help you. They are like story, right? And I don't like reading the books actually. I like listening to books. So these books are available on audible.in. So I purchase books on audible.in and I listen to them when I'm doing my evening walks or I'm just sitting idle and listening to these books. These are like story like, which will give you a glimpse of what it means, what are the type of challenges people face and how they overcome. The Phoenix project was the first one, and this is a sequel to this Phoenix project, right? So if you are reading, of course, if you directly start reading this also, it's perfectly fine. It will be all things will make sense. Both these books are written by the same author. Okay. And this is site reliability engineering, mainly from how it was happening at Google, right? This is also a very good book to understand what DevOps processes are, what all things involved in DevOps, and continuous delivery is also a very good book to go for, right? So you have to do a lot of readings also as part of this training, right? So this is what I wanted to cover today, and I wanted to resolve any queries you have related to the training.
Okay, then what would be the duration of a live class?
It's all 3.5 months. So we have 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday, and that will last for almost 3.5 months minimum. Sometimes it might get extended by 1 or 2 weeks because we might have some holidays or some course might take some longer time for this batch, right? But 3.5 months of classes.
So Docker Kubernetes, how many time it will take?
I'm not sure, but between these two, we might have around 3 for Docker and 4 for around 6 to 7 sessions.
Okay.
Minimum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the classes will be on the weekend only, or
it will be only on weekend.
Saturday and Sunday both.
Saturday and Sunday both. The timing will be 3:30 to 6:30 India time. I don't know if somebody can help me translate to UK time. 3:30 to 6:30 IST. Okay. What will be the corresponding UK time? Anyone here can help me? Tushar, you are there?
Yeah, it will be 11 to 2 o'clock, 11 a.m. to 2
Okay.
p.m.
Yeah, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right for UK.
Yeah, it's a 4.5 hour difference.
Okay, correct. Now I get confused with daylight saving, and sometimes it is 5.5, sometimes it is 4.5. So okay, so these are going to be the timings.
So how about if sometimes on weekend due to like workload, some of the classes we may miss. So will we get access to the recorded session?
Recorded sessions are anyway available irrespective of whether you attended or not attended, right? So
Okay.
the same day recording takes time to convert. So after suppose 6:30 we are done, it takes around 1 hour to convert the recording, and in the night typically I send the message that recording is available.
Okay.
Questions? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then thanks everyone for joining the session today. If you have any feedback about this session, feel free to ping me. Yeah, and see you soon.
Thanks, Siddharth.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Bye bye.
Bye.